I can ever do anything with this, but at some point I want to talk about your social media, but I may try to shorten some of these videos into small clips or something like that. So this is recording. I'm less concerned about the video portion. Audio, I'm going to get ready to do on the soundboard, and we're going to get started here in 3, 2. Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Stone Genius Podcast. My name is Ro. You know me. I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. I'm very excited. I have a guest who is joining us. They are joining us remotely. They were very accommodating and working with the time with me to get this worked out. This person, they have the website fitinmidlife.com. They have the TikTok account fit_nin_midlife. That's at TikTok. I'm sorry. Actually, Jason, I'm going to restart this. I don't like my lead in. So because the video doesn't matter, I'm just going to start this and re-lead this in. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. Get started here and again in 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Stone Genius Podcast. My name is Ro. You know me. I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. Super excited about the guest that I have joining us today. I found this person on Instagram. Their Instagram account is at fitinmidlife. Once again, that's at fit, FITNIN, midlife. That's where I found him. Jason Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So I'm excited. So I also wanted to mention, often the listeners are used to me not being able to do this in one take. I messed it up the first time we tried to do this when I did your introduction, so we restarted. But I also wanted to mention, not only are you on Instagram at fitinmidlife.com, you have the website, www.fitinmidlife.com, and TikTok, which is at fit_nin_midlife. So those are your social medias. But the way I found you is you are into fitness. I will tell you the exact post that caught my eye was 43 to 53.
Okay. Yeah. That was quite a popular post.
It was. And I will tell you this, that I have been... I don't have great eating habits, so it's kept me to be thin. So my eating habits are iffy at best. I can go 1 to 2 days without eating, and then I'll eat until I'm full, and then I just go on about it just doesn't bother me. That's how I've always lived. So I've always been fairly thin. But as I've gotten older and less active, I've had to worry about fitness, because just being skinny is not being fit.
Absolutely not.
No. And so that's something. So I'm very interested, because there are not a lot of gentlemen like us in our mid 50s that are fit. I mean, I'm fairly confident if I walk into a room with 100 other guys that are my age, that I'm probably going to be one of the most fit people in there.
Sure.
And plus I live in the United States, so fitness has a different shape here in the United States, unfortunately. But so what led you on your journey? Were you fit before 43? Because like I said, the post that caught my eye was 43 to... So up to that point, were you active? What did you do?
So not really. Generally during my youth, I was active. So I was playing a lot of sport. Football, or soccer, as you would call it, your side of the pond.
It can be football. You can still reference it as football.
And rugby and various other sports, but that was all during school time.
Right.
So once I kind of got out of education and entered the world of work, then my activity, my fitness, my health as well, kind of very, very gradually and very, very slowly started to deteriorate. And that's because, I had other things on my mind. I was focused on building a career. I was then, focused on building a family and the like. And it wasn't until really I got until almost 50 that I thought, geez, Jason, you're not in a good way. You need to change things.
Right.
And so how I lived in my 40s was really a net result of the kind of compound effects of 25 years of neglection, really. Nothing more than that. It's
Well,
just
well, I'll even mention that the picture that you posted, your post of 43 and 53, 43, it wasn't, I mean, I saw it, and it wasn't like I didn't think that you were grossly overweight or
no.
grossly out of shape or anything like that. It just, once again, there's a difference between body style and fit. I mean, I've seen other people, older guys like me that, they take their shirt off the pool and they have no definition, but they look skinny. I'm still vain enough at this point to want people, if they're gonna look anyway, because I'm a skinny old man, I might as well have some definition to it. So when you finally made that, did you make the decision on yourself, or did you have anyone else that helped you make that decision, said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this for myself, let's do this together?
No, it was entirely down to me, and it was really a result of the health effects of the way that I'd been living. So by this point, my body mass index was pretty high. Even though I perhaps didn't look at it because I carried it well.
Okay.
I had a lot of fat in my body. I was getting very close to the obese part of the BMI scale. I was on blood pressure tablets because I suffered from hypertension. I had high cholesterol as well. And, all of that was a net result of eating poorly, drinking too much, and not doing enough activity. So
are you a foodie? Does food, see, like I had mentioned to you, food is literally just a fuel for me. I mean, it's like your car, when you drive and you're out of petrol. I'm going to use petrol there. If you're out of petrol or fuel, however we're going to reference that, then, you feel it. Maybe that's, every day if you're driving a lot, maybe it's once a week. And so it depends. And that's kind of how I get hungry and I eat, and then I'm good until I'm hungry again, which drives my family fucking insane.
I can imagine.
Well, going on a trip is the worst.
But that's more, yes, totally. But the, I guess that's where I am now. So the way I consider my diet now is that it is fuel for my body, and it's therefore has to be the right quality, and also the right quality for and quantity for what I want to achieve. So when I first started to make my transition, I used to do things like counting calories and checking my macros, making sure I was getting enough protein and carbs and whatever. I don't do that now, simply because I'm so used to the process that I know what I'm getting. But it's not like any form of strict regime. And whilst I wouldn't describe myself as a foodie, I do appreciate my food, and even more so now, because the quality of the food that I'm eating now is so much better than what it was before. Before it was all basically processed crap, straight out of a packet, sometimes put into a microwave.
But passive least resistance.
Yeah, exactly. And part of that you could say, well, that's lifestyle, because if you've got a busy job and you've got family, when you get back home, that's all you've got time to do. But what I found was actually it doesn't take any more time at all to plan, prepare, and actually eat and consume a lot better than kind of fast convenience foods would have you to believe.
Right. And, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because a lot of times people will not do things for two reasons: time and effort. They don't want to spend the time or the effort. When we used to live out in the country, or kind of out in the country, we had one restaurant in town. So we ate at home all the time.
Sure.
When we moved back into the city, we maybe eat at home 3 nights a week. And my wife's it's just easier. Oh, let's grab something. Let's pay. We're not any busier.
Sure.
I mean, we're filling our time loafing on the couch, or me doing, we're not filling it with world-changing things. So a lot of times it's time and effort. And that's one of the things that I find about my diet, is that the other thing that's peculiar with me is when I get hungry, if it passes, then I'm not hungry anymore. Like some people get hungrier and hungry. I just can't. I get hungry and my stomach will growl. Like during church, my wife's like, "You're so," but after church, she'll like, "Let's go get you something to eat." I'm like, "I'm not hungry anymore," and she
Sure.
she doesn't understand that. So I always say, do not base eating habits off of me. But because I sometimes, if I'm hungry, I need to eat instantly, it leads to poor choices because at that point, I just want fuel. Just like a car would want fuel. I just want fuel. And, if it's whatever it is, that's what, once again, path of least resistance. And I am not a good cook. I can cook one thing, chili. I do that very well. And I make it in bulk so I can eat it for days at a time. But that's one thing that I need to personally learn more about is nutrition.
Yeah, and it's worth doing that because that was a big part of my change in that I did study and become qualified as a nutritionist as well as a personal trainer and
what did you do before this? Like, because this isn't just change you and your health and your fitness personally. This has changed your career too, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a typical corporate role. I'd worked my way up the ladder and finished up in the C-suite of a media organization here in the UK, and that was all really good. As I was getting older and with the way that my family was developing, I had an opportunity to exit the business. And did consulting for a few years, and it was during the consulting period, which as an independent consultant, that's pretty demanding. You've got to do the work, you've got to find the work, you've got to service the clients, you've got to do all of your admin, etc., etc. And that was when I decided that I needed to change my approach to life and to start getting fit, to start eating better, because I had all of these conditions. And I wasn't feeling good. I didn't have the energy that I wanted. I didn't have the zest for life that I wanted. I just wanted to kind of enjoy life. I wanted to get up in the morning and feel excited for the day ahead rather than, or can I just have 5 more minutes in bed? And that then led me to start getting more and more into the fitness. And I guess one career transitioned into another because I enjoyed the fitness so much. And what I noticed was that there were a fair few people in my age group trying to get fit, but there were very few people in my age group available to help them. So typically you would see, people in their late 40s, their 50s, even their 60s, being trained by people that were, young enough to be their son, their daughter, at least, potentially more. And whilst that's absolutely fine, but what I could see was there was very little rapport or understanding of just the life of being an older person than 20 something. And rightly so. When you're in your 20s, you don't want to be thinking about what it's going to be like to be in your 50s or 60s. So and I thought, well, maybe that's something I could do. I could help other people. I've started to change myself, and maybe I could therefore help other people do the same. And that was how I ended up winding down the consulting work and picking up on the personal training and the coaching work.
Right. It's funny that you had mentioned the age disparity gap. So one of the things that in some of the reason that people with the high IQs join high IQ societies is so that we're talking to people that think like us and have the same questions. And so sometimes people will ask about therapy, and I pointed out, I've never done therapy, but if you have a high IQ, wouldn't you want a therapist that has a high IQ so that you can understand that? Because more to the point, when you talk about age, my wife is 7 years younger than I am. And last year I had a fall, and my wife asked me, she goes, "How did you fall?" I go, "Well, I was walking and I fell." She goes, "Okay. How did you fall?" I go, "I was walking and I fell." She goes, "Oh my God, tell me how you fell. What did you trip on?" I go, "I was walking and I fell." And I go, "Here's the thing, Bobby." I go, "Why don't we revisit this conversation in 7 years and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about?" Because I just
Yeah.
fell. I don't know
Yeah.
how I fell. I just fell. And until that happens to you, you can't explain it. And there's no way that even being 7 years younger, she was going to understand that. So how is someone who's 15 years younger, 20 years younger, 30 years younger than you, not experiencing the daily aches and pains?
Yeah.
I used to work in a shoe store, and it was for like orthopedic shoes. And most of the people were older or had mobility problems. And one of the salespeople would always be like, do you have like knee pain, hip pain, or lower back pain? I'm like, fuck, they're all over 50. We all have that pain. I mean, that's such a, I mean, I get it. He was trying to sell, but so it's just weird that wasn't noticed beforehand, that you were able to identify that the people of a certain age are going to need someone that understands their needs nutritionally and everything else. Side note, and I know I jump around, during the pandemic, there was this thing that came out. It was like the 100 push-up a day challenge. And
Oh, yes, I did that.
I was like, I'm going to do that. And then I just continue doing it. And it was funny because after about 2.5 years, I was like, wow, I've done 100,000 push-ups. And it's amazing because you don't think about it like that at the time. But then when you add it up over time, 100 push-ups a day. And there were days that I did well more than 100, but I always do it. But you also had to get in that routine and things. But here's the deal. That was what, 4 years ago I started that. Those same exact push-ups are infinitely harder now. I mean, it seems like every year of life, it gets exponentially harder to stay fit in the workouts that you do, and then fit in the nutrition that I take in. Because my metabolism is going to come to a screeching halt at some point, and I'll eat the junk food that I normally do, and it will not result in what I've had the benefit just because of age or maturity.
And that is absolutely true. Everything slows down as we get older, and as the older we get, the faster that deceleration happens as well. So, it's not just that. Everything around the hormones that you produce. So testosterone being a great example from a muscular perspective. That is harder to produce as well, and that results in, particularly if you are inactive, sarcopenia, which is where your muscles slowly but surely kind of waste away. And that's why when I look at people over here in the UK, some of whom are in their 60s, certainly in their 70s, they can't get out of a chair without pushing themselves up with their hands. They can't just stand from a seated position because they don't have that strength in the legs and the glutes to enable them to do that. And then you kind of think, well, if that's happening now, what's it going to be like, in another 5 years' time? How the hell are you going to get off the toilet? Who's going to help you out?
Tie your shoes. That's why Velcro was in it, for God's sake.
Exactly. I personally want to put that off for as long as I possibly can. So, the more that I'm able to do now to build my strength, to build my mobility, then as far as I'm concerned, the less of a problem I'm going to be causing my kids, because I don't want them to be having to, kind of look after me as if, because I'm old and frail. I want them to, to enjoy being with me, and we're doing normal stuff for as long as possible.
Right. And has your family been able to notice a change with you as you've made this journey on both nutrition and fitness? Have they seen just an overall change in how you interact with them or others?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's one of the things that I say a lot on my social media is this: it is about health and fitness, but it actually affects every part of your life. It affects your relationships. It affects your self-esteem, your self-image, your self-confidence. And that transcends into everything in the world of work, your family, your friends, everywhere. Everything gets touched by it. And it's just, I guess what I found was it was such a wonderful and liberating feeling compared to the dull, dour, lethargic, energy lacking life that I was living before. That I just wanted to share it with people because I couldn't frankly believe how different I felt. And if I can help other people to feel equally as different or even half as different, then, I'm doing a lot of people a favor.
So let me ask you this. Before your health journey, was it more about kind of changing the shape you were, or did you have to lose weight? And the reason I ask this is at only one stretch for about 4 years, I was heavy. I was about 50 pounds heavier than what I am, 40 pounds heavier than I am now.
Right.
And that was in 2008, we did P90X twice in a row. I was all about gaining weight and adding bulk. And at 6'5", I got up to 208, 210, right in that neighborhood, which was, I always tell people, I go, if you want to know my size, that was the same size Aquaman was in the original Aquaman. He was 6'4", 210. And I go, and I had definition, I was good. But then I went through a health thing. I lost a whole bunch of weight. I had always been around 170, 175 before that. And now when I pick up weight, sometimes I'm just holding, even if I'm holding like 2 12-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking 24 pounds. I had almost twice this on me. And I'll just, sometimes I'll hold them and just walk around. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I understand why my joints, my bone, why I make half the sounds I make when I get up and sit down is attributed, I think, to that weight. And
absolutely.
And while some people, because that weight was not inappropriate for that size for a person with a frame, it was inappropriate for me. I had never been that heavy. I thought that would actually make me healthier. I ended up having a knee replacement within a couple years after that, which I had multiple knee surgeries before, but I think it exacerbated that. So it's, when you made your change, was it weight loss that you were focusing on, or just your nutrition and health at the end?
It was more the inputs, as I would describe them. So it was more about, I need to live better, and therefore I need to be more active, and I need to eat better, and change my consumption with alcohol. I actually stopped drinking alcohol completely. The net result of that was that I lost a lot of weight, and it happened pretty quickly. We're talking about 2 or 3 months, and I was 15 to 18 kilos down, so that'd probably be about 35 to 40 pounds in weight, in the imperial measurements. But it wasn't for
sorry
that
that the US can't do what the rest of the world did. Sorry about that.
Well, pounds and inches and feet and whatever all started off over here, so that's fine.
Or the letter Z. Oh my gosh! Tell an American that the last letter in the alphabet is Z, not Z, and they'll lose their mind.
Yeah, it's definitely sad.
It is.
But yeah, it was more about, I just wanted to feel better. That was what did it.
Okay.
But I was seeing a doctor because I had high cholesterol. I had hypertension as well.
So let me just jump in there, because you said had. Is that so making this change relieve those issues from your life, or at least now they have
within 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely. It was, and the doctor's response was exactly how yours was. Just, it was, that they couldn't believe it. Lovely lady, and she was just astounded by the amount of change that I was able to make in such a short period of time.
Right.
And so I was off the blood pressure tablets. I was off the statins for the cholesterol. And I'd lost at that point probably around about 10 kilos, so about 20 pounds at that point. And it just kept going, so that was the reason for it. Nobody had said to me, you need to lose weight, your health is dangerous. I was getting kind of amber lights rather than red lights, if you like.
Right.
So there was a bit of the doctor was telling me, look, you just go out for a walk more often, or go, just try and get a little bit more exercise. And of course, me being me, I decided, well, I'm going to do a bit more than that. And And that's what started it off. And
and sometimes it's hard when the people around you. I remember this vividly when I was going through my weight change, gaining weight. Like my wife and family that were around me every day, just because it was a little at a time, they didn't really notice it. And then when we saw my wife's grandmother, she actually goes, "You're fat." And I wasn't, but I was just probably 20 pounds heavier than she had ever seen me. But because she only saw me once or twice a year, it stood out to her. So sometimes you can get, so I will tell you this, I was having an issue with, when I have issues with my weight, it's being on the too low side. That I'm not like, I'll get sick and then I'm fucked because I'm already at the bottom of my weight, my BMI where I should be anyway. And so if I start losing. And so what I started doing is I would send photos, generally shirtless photos, to my wife almost every day. And it was like, hey, here I am without a shirt on. Don't forget about me. But it was also because I could look at those every day and I could see change. If there were changes in my body, I would be able to see that.
Yeah.
And so that means a lot too, because then I'm looking at a photo, which is, it's not a mirror. I'm not, and it's like, oh, I can stop and take. So sometimes it's hard to be held accountable. And then you just find yourself, I'm not in the weight, the fitness, the eating habits that I want or need to be in. Like I said, when we moved from the country back into the city, it was not a conscious choice for us not to eat at home anymore. It was just like, we're doing this, and then all of a sudden, it's almost all the time that we're doing it. Oh, hold on. I do have a big boo written on here about one of your posts. First of all, I'm going to congratulate you. I am not good at posting on social media. It is something now that I am focusing on my podcast here at the beginning of this month full time. I am going to start focusing to try to get something out every day. I love that you have social media, you have it locked down. That being said, my boo has to do with one of your recent posts.
Okay.
Because as someone who's 56, I'm very offended by this.
Okay.
Leg day? What the leg day? Come on. It's all about the glamour muscles, the vanity muscles. Leg day. I skipped right by that post. I was like, I thought about maybe getting out of this interview. I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk to a guy that wants to do leg day, honestly. So, because I will tell you, that's one of the problems that I have is I was thinking about this at 56. I don't have many seasons left to do this. I still wear a Speedo to the pool.
Cool.
I mean, and it's not about others looking at me. It's, if I could go naked, I would. I just want to be tan as much as my body as possible. The Speedo currently in the United States is the least amount of swimwear I can wear and do that.
Is that a legal thing or a personal thing?
Well, I actually joked with my wife a few years ago. The apartment complex we moved into, it's mostly people over 30. So like an adult, but not like a retirement or anything like that. And the pool is never used during the week. So I had said, I'm going to get a Speedo. I'm going to go until I get my tan line set. Then I'll go back to a regular suit. Well, it's been 3 seasons in. I've never gone back to a regular suit. Yeah, but here's the one thing I noticed. My wife took a picture of me at the end of last season, and I was about to say from the waist up, but I'm going to flatter myself and say from the groin up, I was very impressive. But from the legs down, you could tell that I had not seen leg day in a while. Sure. Yeah, so that was the offensive post. I don't even think I want to talk about leg day, honestly, but I just thought, so how hard is it though if someone's starting their training, their fitness routine with you, how hard is it to focus on the right things, like leg day perhaps, or maybe leg day on one day and the rest the other, whatever. Or sometimes are they just so focused on, I want to look good, which, I mean, it may get you to that point, but I think there has to be other parts that kind of go to it to lead you there. You can't just say, I want to look at, here's one thing I'll say. I've had people that are in their 20s or 30 that have said, I hope to look like you when I'm your age. And my response is always, you won't. And they look offended. And I go, I didn't look like that at your age.
Hmm.
And I'm just trying to say, because it is hard. It is very difficult. And that's why when I saw your picture 43 to 53, I know how difficult that can be. And I wasn't trying to be an asshole. I just am by nature. But I was trying to point that, it doesn't get easier. If you're not staying in shape now, why would you think when you get to 43 or 53 or 63 that all of a sudden I'm going to do this? Yes, there are people that do it, but it's not the norm. So how do you help that you're focusing kind of on people that are in their midlife?
Yeah.
Are you able to focus on younger people, and do you have like an outreach, or do your numbers show by your interactions through your social media that you're also reaching younger people to know that maybe I shouldn't wait until I'm in my 40s?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically the people that I engage with on social media will be at least 30 or older.
Okay.
So the kind of the 20-year-olds, they all know what they're doing anyway. They don't need to,
Sure.
or at least they think they do. But the vast majority are 45 plus. So it is people that are more kind of within our type of age bracket. And I guess what I try and do is show people that, which is what that post that you first saw was all about, is this is possible for the ordinary person, the ordinary dad, the ordinary kind of dad bod, as the phrase is known. So you're not massively overweight, you're not obese or anything, but you could be a lot better, and you've got a few rounds of fat typically hanging around your stomach, a beer belly, as we would call it in England. So that's who I generally kind of work with, and who I generally attract. And what I try and do is introduce people into a fitness regime and a nutrition regime in a way that they're going to enjoy it. So, I would not say, "Hey, Ro, welcome to the program. Leg day today."
Right.
Let's go. Whoa.
Yeah, because you would see me. Actually, that what you would have produced a leg day as I ran out the door. So that would be my leg day running away from you. Yes.
Precisely. So what we do is we just start off with similar things to what you described during lockdown. So it would be press ups. It would be It would include things like squats and lunges, because we do have to work the legs. But it's all part of it's all part of a full body program. And as you do that, people get to you start to educate people as well, and that is through their own experience of doing the work as well. Because when you do work the legs, you are generally getting the heart rate higher than you would do if you were working the upper body, because there's more muscle content down there. So, and that.
Yeah, there is. Sorry, I just had to do that one.
There is. You need it, because you spend, you get from A to B, you're going to spend some time on your feet,
Right.
And therefore, you most of your, 2/3 of your muscle is in the glutes down the legs. So that's, that means that when you're working the legs, your heart rate is typically going to get higher than it would do if you're doing press ups or pull ups, etc. But you're also producing more hormones. So your brain will produce hormones, or signal for the production of hormones, in pretty much direct proportion to the amount of muscle mass that you're using. So if you're using 2/3 of the muscle below the legs, your brain's producing twice as much of those growth hormones, testosterone, as it would do if you were just working the upper body. But those hormones don't bypass your chest, your shoulders, your back, your arms, to flood straight down to the legs, because that's you're doing a series of squats. It goes everywhere. It benefits the whole body as a result. And so by introducing people to those kind of concepts, the importance of working the full body, because functionally speaking, the legs do a lot for us, and if the legs go, we're gonna notice it in life. So educating people, then you can then move people onto using weights and higher levels of resistance, and then you can move people on to doing split routines, which is where leg day would come in, because you're doing legs one day and then you're doing the upper body on another day. And that's where the leg day comes in. But it's absolutely right that most people, and myself included, when I first started, I hated leg day. And I didn't really appreciate the need for it. I run a fair amount as well, so I was thinking, well, my legs are getting enough exercise from the running,
right.
but it's not strictly true because it's a different form of training. But if I'm honest with you, the main reason I didn't worry too much about the legs is that my mirror finishes at waist height. I couldn't see them.
That I didn't even think about that. I mean,
And
that makes a lot of sense.
And so, you focus in on what you see, what you focus on visually is what you generally try and, kind of, that's
And
where your
also,
activity is based.
If someone's coming to ask me directions, it's much easier to go it's that way than I can't do that with my leg. What point is so? Yeah, and I gave it the same thing. I never worked out until just a few years ago. I grew up playing basketball. I was always fit. I was always sinewy, I guess. I was just a very thin but muscular. I mean, and I could run and run, and I just always felt that everything was fine with my legs. But man, I've had 11 knee surgeries now, including a replacement on one. And it's something I need to focus on because I do worry about that. The thing that I focus on my legs the most right now is flexibility. So we'll do yoga and stretching because that concerns me a lot is not being able to cut your own toenails, not being able to put socks on, not being able to put shoes on. I mean, stuff like that, that concerns me. And I know that, and I forget where I heard it, but there was this saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is to plant one now. And that's kind of what I'm having to think, that it's going to be too late. When I figure out I can't put my own socks on anymore, it's too late for me to probably get that ability back, or at least in a way that's efficient if I would have just taken care of it now.
Yeah, and it would certainly take time to get it back. Absolutely.
Right. So now let me mention this, that you do have a video on your website, which is fitinmidlife.com. It tells a little bit about your services there. When people originally are motivated to reach out to you, is that generally nutritionally based? Is it fitness? Like, I want to get in better shape. Well, not really thinking, they're thinking more workout, not knowing that the nutrition needs to be there. Because I do think that they go hand in hand together. But do the clients that come to you, are they leaning nutrition or fitness one way or the other when they get to you? Or do they kind of understand that they're going to go hand in hand before they get to you?
They kind of understand, but their focus is more on the fitness side, generally.
Because that's what people see.
Because and it's kind of, it's less kind of set in habit, isn't it? You're starting something new generally. You're not feeling like you have to give anything up if you're going to start going to the gym, or if you're going to go out for a run or whatever it might be. You're doing something that's new, and you're not replacing something that you used to do before.
Right.
Whereas with nutrition, if you've got a pretty crappy diet that you enjoy, which is certainly the case for me, it tasted good, but it wasn't doing me any good whatsoever. Right. You kind of feel like you're giving something up then in order to make an improvement. And so the workout side of it is generally the part where people will place their initial focus, and is typically where they'll really focus their attention for the first 2-3 weeks or so at least. And then they start to realize, hang on a second, I do need to do more than just work out. I do need to change what the diet is. I do need to, and it's not just about the quantity. It's also about how much protein are you getting, how much carbohydrates are you getting, how much fats are you getting, and how much processed food are you eating? And that's when people start to think, well, actually, I'm starting to feel better, but I could be feeling a lot more better if I was doing the nutrition side as well. And it kind of therefore becomes a natural progression on that person's journey. And that's absolutely true of me myself when I first started as well.
Well, and I was writing down while you were speaking that when you first started this journey, or when others come to you, their goals, is it more about reaching a target weight? Is it more about, so like me personally, I know that 182 to 185, which I'm just under that now, I know exactly when I'm in that spot. That's when I feel good. My body feels good. I think I look the best. So it's more about, it's not, so are you looking as a goal, or your clients looking for like a target weight or a target feeling? What is when they come to you, how do you figure out what the destination is going to be?
So that's where we normally end up. So there will be a target weight, and there will be, I typically try and talk to people about body composition as well. So, having a healthy weight is one thing, but having a good amount of muscle mass in your body and a lot less fat mass in your body, is also incredibly important, and better indicator of your overall health and fitness. So that's kind of where we get to. But people will normally start off with, I need to lose some weight. I just want to look better. I just want to feel better. I'm starting to think, about longevity now, because I'm getting on a bit, and I need to protect myself.
Right.
Generally, the starting point goals are a little more woolly and a little less defined than, right, I'm going to hit, I'm 220 pounds now. I want to get down to 180 pounds, and I want to get my body fat down below 12%, and I want to get my muscle content up to 80%. That's kind of where we get to, but it's never really the starting point. And in a way, neither should it be.
As you were talking, I kind of was thinking through my own question, is that maybe me being 182 to 185, the reason I feel so good is because unknowingly I'm doing all the things that I should be to get me to there. Like if I was with you, you may say, hey, do all these things. And then I end up at 182 or 185. Oh, look, but I kind of unknowingly, because I do know when I'm in that target, I just feel good. I sleep. I mean, everything, my clothes fit even better, so just certain things like that. So, but because I do think it's odd as we grow older that I'm just gonna use my wife as an example here. I keep telling her that she's not the 21-year-old I met her. I think she is just as beautiful 28 years later, more so than she was, but she's not. And like she's like, oh, I want to lose this amount of weight to get back to the weight that she was at 21 when we met. You look beautiful. I mean, if you just tone it, and she doesn't have a lot of time. She is very busy because she has a husband that does a podcast full time. So, but like I've told her, I go, I don't think she needs to lose the weight. I just think that if she had the chance to do more yoga with me, or do, push-ups or whatever, and she doesn't, I get that. When we're done this afternoon, she'll still be working for another 3 hours, and I'll get my 2 workouts in. And that is not, but that's also why I say don't judge on me, or really not ever judge on someone else, how they get to where they are. Because, my wife and I will talk about, movie stars, oh, well, they're really fit at that age. Well, they have a nutritionist, they have a trainer, they have all the things that get them to that position. It's not just they look like that. There are a lot of things that lead them up to that area. So,
absolutely.
So do you have to have questions or conversations with clients, prospective clients, about their goals? Like if someone came to you and they're 45 and they go, I want to be the same weight I was and the same size and everything as I was when I was 21.
Yep.
You have to have an honest conversation with them of what to expect.
Totally. And also, because everybody is different, not just in terms of their, physical nature, but also in terms of their lifestyle. And, one person might be able to work out every day, the way we were just discussing. Another person might be able to work out 2-3 times a week at tops. And that, even that's going to be a push.
Right.
And so you have to adapt the program that you give people, the workouts that they would actually be doing. That would also have an impact on the nutrition side as well, because you would alter the nutrition to based on the amount of things that they are able to do or not able to do. So yeah, it is incredibly personalized to that individual. So none of the programs that I put together in my personal training are alike. It's like your fingerprint. It's unique to each individual person. Of course, there are going to be exercises which are going to be the same. Pretty much everybody that's using weights is going to be doing a bench press, and as an example, or some kind of row type of exercise, because they are, the core staple of a great weights workout. But the number of reps that they do, the weight that they use, the rest time that they have in between the sets, all of those things will be different based on the goals, the capabilities, and the other factors of that individual.
One of the issues that I'm finding at my age right now is because of the overabundance of social media and people putting things out there. And that's why I saw you and you stuck out, which I thought was great. And I was watching your workouts, and because as we get to midlife, what we can do changes greatly as well. That someone like I've had 11 knee surgery, including a replacement. And quite honestly, my replacement probably is at the point where it needs to be replaced. So I'm not a runner at all. I can't do like high impact. I can walk. So I have to you have to find things that, I couldn't do. When I was young, I just went and played basketball for 12 hours a week. And guess what? That kept me in pretty good shape, cardiovascular shape.
Absolutely.
So it changes, and being able to find that, because right now, like, of course, I'm working on all the vanity muscles, but like on my deltoids and stuff like that, I'm trying to figure out the different, I don't want to hurt myself, because it's so easy to hurt yourself using too much of a weight, but you still have this certain amount of vanity. So when I'm doing some of my delt exercises, I have 5-pound dumbbells in my hand.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. That's
which you have to get past that though, mentally.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, here's the thing, they're 5 pounds and they're pink. I don't know why they're pink. That's just the way that they came. And I'm fine with that, but it's not like it's showing me that it's like, it's not a fire engine red or something that, oh, this is virile that you're picking. It's a 5-pound pink weight. And so sometimes, but here's what I have to remember is that I feel it. My first set of 8 reps, I kind of feel it. My second set, I feel it. Third rep, I'm really feeling that. Fourth rep, I'm trying to get through it and continue to hold the positioning and everything that I need to for that. And it's a 5-pound. But then, when I do curls and stuff, then it's a greater weight. So I have that difficulty right now trying to figure out basically how not to injure myself while working out.
Yeah, the 2 key things there are, firstly, the weight itself has to be appropriate, but you can change the way a weight feels through the range of motion that you go through. So if you were doing a lateral raise, for example, with dumbbells, once you get to this kind of T position, you don't really need to get any higher than that. But you don't want to be stopping down here somewhere, because these delts aren't fully contracted at that point. You want to be here.
I will say that that's one thing that I have found that I've worried about is technique. That if I watch videos and it's like, oh, that's a good delt, I've never done that, I should try that. Well, are my palms in the position that they need to be? Am I gripping the weight? Because there are intricacies to the way you hold a weight, if you hold it at one end as opposed to the other. And so, and they don't always show those in the videos. And
that is perfect. Absolutely true. Yeah.
Because as you were bringing your arms up, I was thinking that I've had shoulder surgery, and if I don't want to put it in a position that I could injure it, but I do want to do exercises that strengthens that joint and keeps it intact like it should.
So what would be better, particularly if you've had some kind of some kind of injury or surgery or issue, or is go really light. In fact, if you just hold your hand up here in this kind of position,
right,
after 20-30 seconds, this delt muscle here is going to start feeling it. And that
right,
the only reason it's feeling it is because it's working. It's having to work to keep that position in play with
right,
no weight whatsoever in your hand. So if you've got 5-pound dumbbells in your hands and you're kind of just bringing them up and you just pause in for 2 or 3 seconds and then coming back down nice and slowly, with a good range of motion, but nothing too extreme, because
right,
you come here and that will start to affect the
right,
delts in a different way. Then you're going to be working it out really, really effectively. Resistance bands are a good way of doing that as well, because resistance bands, the tension increases as the band tightens,
right.
obviously. So, when you're in this position, just holding it there with the band being at its pretty much maximum resistance, it's going to make a big difference. But what you don't want to be doing, which is what certainly I would have been doing when I was in my late teens and early 20s, is this, oh yeah, look at me, and I've got the heaviest weight I can find. And when I'm coming up, I'm from here onwards, I'm just following through with momentum. So I'm getting a muscular blast to start off the lift, but then it's just momentum coming down, and then I'm just using gravity to bring it back down again, because there's no, I'm not resisting that gravity with a slower movement back down again. So it's things like that that make a big difference. But the number one thing I would say is that you do not need to have heavy weights. Leave that for the guys with the egos on the gym that like to, bang and clang and throw the weights around.
Right.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either. However, it has to be age appropriate. And for us guys, 50s onwards, you've got to be a little bit more careful, because you don't want to pull something and then, not be able to do any form of workout for weeks, months, or whatever it might be.
Right.
That's
And here this led me to another question. When you are working with a client, what is your environment like? Because one of the benefits that I have, because I'm vain. I'm vain is crap. In fact, I still have the debate over whether I post a link to you and then post a picture next, because generally I can post a picture of a guy my age. I'm fine. I'm confident. I'm not with you. So, but I work out at home.
There's a compliment in there, right?
There was. Thank you for being someone who's fitter than I am. So I will tell you this. Most people don't think I'm humble. And I go, it's not that I'm not humble. It's like, you don't give me a position to be humble, because I'm just so much better than you. So now that I know that so I appreciate you because you humble me. I mean, you put in the work. I mean, for fuck's sake, you're doing leg day. And I literally have written boo with 3 exclamation points after it, pointing to leg day. And then I wrote ugh with another exclamation point. So I'm putting in enough effort that here in America, I'm fine with the guys that I would have to not compete with, but if someone's going to compare me to another guy, I'm fine with that. Thank you for being better, because it shows me that I want to say it shows me I can be humble, but I feel I'm not being very humble while I'm saying all of this. That being said, as I've gotten older, I have started I tried to use TRX bands. Have you ever used those?
Yeah.
I have found that that sometimes I get in a position where talking about, like, it's kind of like the reverse butterfly, where I'll lean forward and come out. Well, I don't feel like I'm strong enough, and I get to a position where, and so I feel like I'm almost not strong enough to do that, or I need to modify that. And that's where I was going to say, oh, the whole thing about being fit, where I was going with that is my vanity using light weights is because I work out at home. I told you I rarely am able to bring myself back into the original question. So my original question was going to be about your environment with your clients, because I'm here and no one's looking at at me, except for my wife or my dog, and if the kids are in town, maybe when I'm working out. So I don't have to worry about, my vanity is just in my own head. I'm not impressing anyone else. So I can use a 5-pound pink weight and not care. That being said, if I was at a gymnasium, I probably wouldn't opt for that 5-pound pink weight. So how do you deal with, are you in an environment where, or do you just have to tell them, screw everyone else, don't worry about them, it's me, you, the weights, whatever we're doing? How do you, where's your environment, and are you able to separate them so that they don't worry about that person's looking at me because I got a 5-pound pink weight in my hand?
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have to, get over that.
It is hard.
I suppose it's self-consciousness, isn't it? If you're in that public environment. And, the thing that I say to people is that everybody that's in here started off, like as you're starting off,
Right.
They didn't come in here starting lifting, 50-pound dumbbells or whatever it might be on day one.
Right.
So that's the element, that's a key element to start off with. But also, what I'm explaining to people, as I did earlier, is it's not it is about the weight that you lift, but it's more about the stress under which you're putting the muscles. So that's the thing that counts, and it's that isn't solely dependent on the weight. So I will get people doing it with good form in a gym environment, the exercises properly. And sometimes, if it comes to it, I'll point out other people in the gym who might be, going hell for leather with big heavy weights, but actually they're not doing the exercise very effectively at all.
Right.
Just between me and my client, as I say, like, that's the alternative way of doing it. What you're doing is much better. It's much more control. So don't think, because you're not doing the exercise with the weights he's using and the way that he's actually doing it, that you're worse off. Actually, you're better off. You're going to be having a far more effective workout than that person over there. So that can happen. And then other people that I train, I am in a more kind of private environment, so I train people at their homes. And then with the people that I train through my online training, there's a pretty much a 50-50 split there of people who are in the gym and people who are working out at home. And there it's a slightly different scenario because I'm not in the gym with them. I'm not in Philadelphia or LA or New York or wherever it might be. Most of my clients are American, and so I have to have those conversations with them and just say, look, don't be conscious about this. If you're going to go in there, everybody that's in there has been on day one exactly as you are right here, right now. They will respect you for that. So that that's another key element of it. And then you're going in there, you're going to be doing the workout, and over time you will build up your strength, and you will be lifting heavier weights. That will happen. But when you are using heavier weights, you'll be using them in a way that you are using them appropriately, safely, and effectively to help continue to build and strengthen your body.
Yeah. And I will even admit that when I started the 100 push-up a day challenge back during the pandemic, that I think originally I probably did like 5 sets of 20 or to get to the 100, just because, but I was okay with that. I was like, you know what? No one's watching me. But if I was at a gym trying that, there's no way. Did he just only do 20 push-ups? Is he doing 20 again? How many times? And people just, so getting past that, and I totally get this. And I sometimes have said to people that it's all about the little things, like taking a 5-minute walk. And they're like, who wants to take a 5-minute walk? I go, if you take a 5-minute walk 6 days a week, that's 30 minutes a week, that's 2 hours a month, that's 24 hours a year. You've now just walked that you weren't walking before. If I told you to go out and walk for a full fucking day, 24 straight hours, you'd be like, no, that's too much time and effort. Well, 5 minutes a day for 6 days a week. I'm even giving you Sundays off or whatever day you choose to have off, and it's the little thing. Now, that being said, I have mentioned that I can go 1 or 2 days without eating. I just don't. And if I really was concerned about my nutritional health, which I should be at this age, I should be force myself to eat a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whatever that is, it's more than what I'm doing now. Because I will have people that will say, I'll be like, hey, I'm hungry. And they're like, oh, what did you have for lunch? And I'm like, well, I haven't eaten like 2 days. And they just look at me and I'm like, and when my wife goes out of town, I will find notes all over. She's like, please eat. Don't forget to eat. There's food in the fridge. And it's not for lack of food. It's just that I am not drawn to that. So it's funny because I love working out. I love lifting weights. I obviously am not doing it well enough because when I say how much I work out, people go, geez, I feel like you should be bigger. That being said, but it probably has to do with my lack of food intake as well. So I'm going to ask you this on a personal question. Someone who's fit and they come to you at our age because holding muscle mass on, nutrition, workouts, or still a combination of the two to
Still
add
a combination.
Mass?
Still a combination. And what is typical actually with and I get this a lot when people who do have good muscle mass come to me in their, they're well, actually from 45 onwards, typically they've got the good muscle mass, but they've got quite a lot of fat on their body as well. So they're fat. Nothing compared to what certainly I used to be, but maybe 19-20% body fat, something like that. And part of the reason they come to see me is because we spoke about this earlier. The metabolism starts to slow down. We continue to do the same strength workouts as what we were doing in the same way that we were doing them. But we're not burning the same amount of calories because that metabolism has dropped, and our food consumption, alcohol consumption, and everything else has remained pretty much the same. And therefore, the fat, you're not burning the calories. That means it's going to get stored as fat on your body. And so they come and see me about that because the biggest thing that I'm asked from that kind of people is, how are you so lean? Because my body fat is in the region of about 8 or 9% at the moment,
right?
And that's after a bulking period as well, so it's just quite good. So
yeah, and that's what people don't like. People always go, God, what are you, 0% body fat? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I don't know what mine is, but I would probably put it at, I don't know, 14, 15 I mean, it's, once again, I'm thin. I used to hate it before I started working out. If someone would come up and like grab you by the arm, just like, hey, come and just kind of grab your bicep to say hi or something.
And it's all
because I was thin. And so it was like, oh, that's a nice upper arm bone you have, And so I wanted, when people came, to be like, oh, okay, that's not, he's still working out or know that. But man, getting muscle mass on, it just has become exponentially worse from the last few years.
And it's more difficult, but protein, given everything you've told me, I would say you're not getting enough protein. That would, if you increase your protein intake, you'll probably maintain that muscle mass a lot better. And also you will feel that in the workouts that you're doing as well. You'll feel stronger as you're doing those workouts.
Now, do you use supplements, or are there any supplements that help that literally help nutrition? And I've never done supplements or anything, but I am a cannabis user, and I will tell you that when I have to be careful when I work out with cannabis, because sometimes I generally have other like videos going on or audio, something going on else going while I'm working out, and I'll sit there and I'll be like 22, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? 22 reps, and so as a cannabis user, I am very much aware that I either just did 22 reps or I spaced out and I was like 1, 2, 22, and that's just kind of how I counted. So but I do feel like if I'm doing yoga, man, I love doing yoga on cannabis. I mean, it's just because I'm already in a relaxed mood, it's even better. So I really enjoy that. But are there things, and I know this was probably like a shortcut for me to take for my nutrition, but are there supplements and things that are legitimate that can help, or basically everything you could get from a supplement, you can do organically, naturally yourself and not have to include those.
So the only things that I do take are I use a whey protein powder, simply because I know if I have a couple of scoops of that mixed with water, then I know I'm going to hit my protein target every day. That's irrespective of what goes on in the.
So you're mentioning protein and me for muscle mass. Would me considering something like that be at my age be considered? Okay,
definitely.
See, and I don't even know anything about. Like, I'll go into like a CVS, like a pharmacy or something here in the United States, something that carries and it's just a wall of these big, muscle powder, muscle milk, and big muscle on the bottle. And I'm like, I don't know the difference between whey and wheat and all these different things. So
a whey protein, I would highly recommend.
Okay,
whey protein. As clean as you can get, basically. So if you've got a 30-gram scoop, you want 25 grams of that to be pure protein, and then the rest of it, the flavorings and whatever.
Right.
The other thing that I take occasionally is creatine monohydrate, which enables your muscles to produce more energy, basically.
Okay.
So you're able to therefore to work harder in the gym. And the net result of working harder in the gym is that the muscle strength is maintained for a longer period. So those are the only two things that I feel qualified to recommend, because they're the only two things that I've used.
Right. Let me ask you this on because I didn't even have any notes to post-workout, post-achieving goals. I don't even have any of that written down. So post-workout, is there something? So I have like an impact massager, which has made a huge difference for me.
Yeah.
I actually bought it post-injury on a hand just to help loosen up that hand. And then I started using it. And so almost every workout then I use an impact massager. Are there something like that? Do you use many things post-workout that seem to be beneficial to you?
Definitely a Theragun. So I would use one of those. I have to say not as often as I should, but I do find that a great way of just helping the muscles to recover after a workout. Foam roller as well. You may not want me to use one of those.
I don't think I have one, but I'm not in this. I know it's a fucking tube of foam. I'm not sure I use it right. And I'm being serious about that because I sometimes I roll and I'm like, is that pain or is that release of like a knot? I mean, I don't know if I can tell the difference, especially at 56. Everything seems to be breaking or a pain at this point. So I'm not even sure. And I know it sounds stupid, a foam roller, that I'm even using it right.
Yeah, you do feel some pain with using it right, until your body gets used to it.
So if there's a snap and a bone protruding through the skin, I've gone too far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
just a bit. Just a bit.
Good. Thank you for the health note there. I appreciate it.
But the other thing as well, which if you are working out in a gym or a club, is going to sauna afterwards. That's that's another good thing to do. Just sitting there for 10, 15 minutes, that really helps the muscles relax.
I have seen, I think it was on Instagram, there is like a pop-up sauna. And it's like a single person sauna and you hook it up. And I'm not sure how this can be safe, legal, or anything else, but man, it really tempts me. Yeah. So hold on. I think the reason I was giving more thought to the foam roller thing. The reason I may not be using the foam roller correctly is it seems like generally I've always used it on my legs, and we've identified I don't do leg day.
Yeah.
So that maybe I'm not. So maybe that there's a whole bunch of parts of why I may not be using the foam roller correctly. So sauna. See, now I'm going to have to talk my wife into get in a sauna. I still don't see how a single pop-up sauna that you put on your deck and then you go in hot, moist. I'm not sure. I want to try. Actually, I want someone else to try it, and then I'll try it. So that's what I want to see.
But I don't think we can get those at my side of the pond yet, but I'm sure they'll be on their way.
Oh my gosh! I mean, yeah, I'm originally from Florida, and I was adopted, so I don't know my lineage, heritage. I'm assuming that I have a long line of people that came from at or near the equator, because I do not like it chilly, so the thought of a sauna, oh, that really thrills me. So once one of your clients has reached their goal, their target goal that you set out, and how are you able to amend their plan for maintaining that? And then how successful are they? Do people get to that goal and then they're kind of like back? Because I wasn't. Like, once again, the vanity feeds into it that I used to work out once a day. Well, it's almost bikini season, so now it's twice a day. So how does that happen for you with your clients? Once you reach what their originally stated goal was, once you pass that, what happens at that point?
A lot of them set new goals. So,
okay,
they find, and those goals are generally different. So it might be, I want to run a half marathon, or I want to compete in an Ironman type of event, or a CrossFit type of event, like
probably things that they weren't even thinking about prior to. That's awesome.
It's almost like their kind of, their badge of honor or their certificate that, I'm fit and healthy now. They've got the numbers on the scales and, with the tape measure, but doing something like that, it's a big personal achievement when you do an event like that and do well in it as well. So a lot of people will go on and do something like that. Some people will say, brilliant, Jason, thanks a lot for all your help. You've got me where I wanted to be. I've got this now. See you around. Off we go.
And how does that work for them?
And typically that doesn't work so well,
right?
Because, and to be fair, I will say we do need to just, this is what you need to bear in mind. You do need to increase your calorie intake now, because we're maintaining, we're not dropping weight. So you don't want to be in a calorie deficit anymore. And these are the kind of workouts that you want to be doing now, because it's more about maintenance rather than, more strenuous fat burn type of work. So typically they'll then come back within a couple of months or so and say, can I have a bit more help, please, Jason?
So and they've generally taken a step back at that point. I mean, and I get that. I mean, there's been times where I know that as soon as summer gets here, I will probably be less concerned about working out as much. I don't know. It just kind of changes, and you kind of back off, and then well, we're all seasonal, so that comes into it as well. But what is typically the difference with those guys that come back, after 2 or 3 months is it's the accountability. Nobody's holding them accountable to it anymore. They don't have to be in the gym at a certain time because somebody's either waiting for them or, they set a workout for them to do online. And without that accountability, guess what? I can skip today. Today turns into 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days turns into a week. Right.
And then, you suddenly realize, oh God, I haven't really done anything for a fortnight or more. And then it's harder then to get back into it again. So that is the biggest reason why people will typically, who say, yeah, I've got this, I'm fine on my own. They'll just end up, not doing the work anymore. Then they'll start to feel differently. Then they'll start to look at the scales and think, oh shit, things are going in the wrong direction again. And then typically they'll come back. A lot of people though, I just continue to work with, I've got clients that I've been working with for 4 or 5 years and more, from the time that I first started doing this. And there's always something for them to be aiming for. And that changes in terms of, their lifestyle, their overall fitness, so it might be that and events actually are quite a popular thing for people to go for. So a client of mine ran his first marathon in Brighton last weekend, and I helped him with the training for that endurance training. I've had people do high rocks. How does that make you feel that one of your clients is doing something that maybe they'd only dreamt of before, or maybe even it wasn't even on their radar before doing that? How does that make you feel? Yeah, it makes you feel great. I'll be completely honest about it, because
Until
you
they
can
give you their time and they're like, I ran a 3:12, and you're like, what the fuck? You should have been sub 3 hours.
but it's yeah, it makes you feel great because you're helping them do things that they never thought would be possible. I mean, there was one of my first clients was a lady, and her goal was to be able to jump out of an aeroplane. She was scared of flying, so she agreed to do this charity skydive with, strapped to a professional skydiver.
Right.
But she
How
had
does
to
that
lose.
make it safer? I don't understand how that makes it safer. To me,
I
it
guess
just
they know
means,
which cord to pull.
oh, I guess.
You know,
So,
I'm going, shit, it's not that one. Anyway, but she was terrified of flying, and she was determined to do this. It was for a kids charity in London, and she did it. And I wasn't there, but the photos of her, with this guy,
right.
strapped underneath this guy, and she's got a big beam on her face, and her thumbs are up, and
Right.
you just think, well, she lost 5 kilos, which which is a pretty significant amount in a short amount of time, to enable her to do that. So there's always these kind of unexpected goals that people have, and that's a good thing because it keeps you going. The worst thing about achieving a goal is that you kind of you lose something to aim for. So if you can have something else to aim for to keep you motivated, then that's that just keeps you going.
It is. And, it has to do, you had mentioned routine earlier. I work out at the house, but I'm still working out at the same time. Same way with doing the podcast, is that I had to make sure that if I just said, I'm going to record a show, even if it was a solo show, I'm just doing one by myself. If I go, I'm going to record a show on Friday, I need to get it out by Monday. Well, I may not do it Friday. Saturday, I might. Sunday, I'm probably going to have to because it's due out on Monday. I hope by Monday morning I've done a show, because I don't have that accountability. But if I write down on my calendar 7 p.m. solo show, I'm still accountable to my calendar. Yeah. Because it's telling me I need to do, because I know that if I don't have that, so I'm lucky that I'm able to do that, but I do understand how difficult it could be once they leave you to not be able to hold to that calendar, because you're my date on the calendar. Whereas, and if I didn't have you, then I'm going to drift, and it's hard to get back in a routine. I had a slip and fall on some ice during an ice storm back in January, and I had to take about 10 weeks off. I had torn up my hand, had to get it put back together, stretch it out. I don't know. So I couldn't hold dumbbells. It was even yoga was difficult. I was having difficulty. I couldn't plant. I still have some difficulty plant. But now that I'm able to start doing some push-ups and stuff, which I just within the last, I guess, 6 weeks now. I guess it's not this recently, but I've just started doing. But it was so hard for me to get back into doing push-ups. I mean, even just the mental me wanting to do it. I was like, I know how this is going to benefit me. I'm going to look better. I'm going to feel better. Everything's going to be better. I don't want to fucking do this though. I mean, I would rather, once I get in this prone position, I could also take a nap. So that's also another option that I have. So I understand how it can be. I had another podcast that I had a co-host with, and that was very easy because he was remote. So we had to set our time. So it's very easy to do it. And once you lose that, it's easy you can still say, I'm still going to do the podcast, but it's not, like I said, to me, whether I get it done Friday or get it done Monday morning to get out on Monday, you can rationalize that. It doesn't make a difference. But if I would have recorded on Friday, I could have recorded a different show on Sunday or Monday to be put out later in the week. So holding yourself accountable is so important.
Absolutely.
I did want to ask, because we've been talking about these clients that have gone on and they jumped out of perfectly good airplanes, and they've run marathons, they've lost the weight, and they look the way they should. So here's the other side. Clients that you've either had to reject even from the get-go, you're just so out of touch with what you think is going to happen here, or our personalities don't, or someone that during the process, for whatever reason, just became untenable. And maybe not even like just sometimes personalities don't work out. I always say there was a guy that I used to work with, and one day I walked by him and he was with someone else, and he goes, "Hey, Rodney, I was just telling so-and-so how we used to hate each other when we first met." And I go, "I didn't hate you, Rudolph." I go, "We just didn't know how to communicate." And that was the truth. I mean, if you would have based our relationship on the first few weeks you would have known us, you would have thought we just didn't get along, but then we learned how to communicate to each other. So if you had a client where that you went from, okay, I thought I could communicate, to I can't communicate with this person, or just from the get-go, nope, this isn't going to work?
Yeah. So in the kind of face-to-face in-person training, that's a lot easier to do, because you get all the signals of that through the full experience of the contacts you have with the person. And there have been a number of occasions where I said I think maybe a different type of trainer would be more appropriate for you with what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I try and I manage that as best as I can, but frankly, you can tell people who have a high level of expectation of results, but a low level of threshold for the work that is going to be needed in order to get those results. And it's kind of difficult when somebody starts off in that mindset to change them. So you have to manage one end or the other. So you can you can do this much work, but you're not going to achieve this. This is more appropriate for the amount of work that you're prepared to do for your goals over the next 2 or 3 months. Typically those are people that are event orientated, so they've got a wedding coming up, quite often their own, or another.
I mean, that's a good catalyst to make some changes, I will tell you. It's funny, as you're speaking this, I remembered a guy that I used to work for, the owner of this company. And he was at least 10 years younger than I am. I think he's probably like 13 or 14 years younger than I am. And he was pretty overweight. But he was lazy as shit. I mean, and the weird thing is, the bad thing is he had money. I almost guarantee that this person is taking those drugs, the diabetic drugs that make people lose all the weight now. I would almost, because he would take shots. He would do cinnamon cleanses. He would do enema. He would do everything except fucking work out and change his diet. And it was just so amazing that you are so hard, you're so focused on, all you got to do is not fucking eat at Hooters every day for lunch. All you have to do is not sit at your desk eating a bag of chips in the middle of the afternoon after you just ate Hooters for lunch for the third straight day. I mean, I remember when I introduced him to the game of golf, is I would walk a golf course. I enjoy it's walking through a park. I enjoyed it very much. He wouldn't play unless you could drive. So like out of season here in the United States, where a cart can't go out on the course because the fairways are dormant, or if there's been a lot of rain or something and it's cart path only, he wouldn't even play. He was too late. He couldn't drive 200 yards and then walk 20 yards over to his ball and back. He was, I'm not playing today. And it was just amazing that someone that seemed to be, they wanted this change so badly, and they have it. They have the tools. There had to be something like a Jason Smith that we could have found him and then change that. So do you run across people that when they come to you initially, also they're like, I want to look like this. I want to weigh this much weight. And you're like, okay, well, I need to start meeting you at the gym at 6 o'clock. And they're like, oh, whoa, PM, right? And you're like, no, AM. Oh, no. I'm not here. So have you had someone that's just so far out of touch that you've had to say, no, thank you? Or I think the nice way that you just said it is, perhaps there is another trainer that would be better suited to help you right now.
Yeah, that's the stock response that I use. But
right.
Yeah, I guess I'm fortunate in that I've never had anybody quite that extreme, but you can
Yet
tell that.
you need to put yet on there. You haven't had someone like that yet.
Well, exactly. Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a worse version of that though, which I should tell you about, which is you get the person turn up and it's, oh yeah, I'm working out all the time and
Right.
I'm really fit and I'm doing I'm doing my strength training, my CrossFit and all this, that, and the other. It's, oh great. And so you put a workout together for them and you say, okay, we're going to take it a little bit easy today and we'll just I just want to see how you perform. So it's our first session together.
Right.
And within 10 minutes, they're dying. And you think, it's very obvious that everything you told me of all this stuff that you do was complete and utter bullshit. Yeah. Why did you tell me all of that kind of stuff? And it's not like, they don't look as though they're massively unfit or anything like that. So it's not that visible. But why did you tell me that this is what you do when it so clearly isn't, and you're now throwing up in the bathroom?
I thought that was, and maybe this is because you did put a lot of your clients are US, so maybe they're the US client, because I don't understand why. So you're a nutrition and fitness coach, and they're going to explain to you nutrition and fitness. I used to, when I was in the golf industry, I remember one day during the winter times, I would work at one of the golf stores here, and we had a golf launch monitor, and people would come in and they'd be hitting balls. And this guy was like, man, your launch monitor is off. He goes, I'm usually hitting this thing 300, 320 yards. He's in it like 220. And I go, let me see your swing. He's swinging. I go, no way that's ever reached 300 yards unless you're downhill on cart path. And he goes, yeah, I do. I go, dude, it's called physics. This is not physically going to get a ball 300 yards. Because you can just tell the way that whether the way they present themselves, their workout, their swing, or just the way they talk, they're like, you don't know what why are you trying to tell someone who actually knows information that you're the one better qualified for? None of the so
that is very frustrating as well. And I have had people where I said, and this is more in the online environment, where I've had to say to them, look, you're paying me to do your own workouts. You're ignoring the workouts that I've given you because you prefer to do the workouts and you think that you've got, and you think that those workouts will be better for you. That I don't think that will be the case, but it may be the case, and you may feel more comfortable doing them. But if you're going to pay me to help and train you, please do the work that I'm setting.
You could also counter with that there's going to be a surcharge if they want to continue to use their own.
So let's just knock it on the head.
Yeah. So you can make it where if they're going to continue using that own workout, you make it where there's a surcharge. It's the Jason Smith surcharge. You're not using my workout. You're using workout. There's a surcharge for that. Sorry about that. You've licensed this and you're not using it, so I'm going to actually charge you more. Okay. So for you personally, where do you feel like you are on your personal fitness journey?
I'm in maintenance mode, so But generally speaking, I'm kind of there where I want to be, and a big motivator for me is just that, the time I get with my son now, the things that we can do. We have an annual 100-meter sprint race, which I think is 16, or he will be 16 in the summer, and I think he'll probably beat me for the first time this summer. So
the only way that I'm doing a 100-meter race is if there's a bear behind me. Let's see. I thought about that recently. That is something that if I had to start at a full sprint, aliens are landing, something's happening behind me, I got to go to full sprint. my over under is 10 steps before I collapse. And it's not like collapse because I'm not, body parts just start falling apart. And it just, I've always said the only way that I avoid a bear attack is if I'm with someone. I just shove them towards the bear and then I can just walk away. Okay. So, Jason, I really appreciate what you do. I'm glad that you're out there, because I will tell you that someone who's fit in their 50s, especially here in the United States, it's not normal anymore. And it's sad, because I look back at, I was also in the photography for a long time. And I look back at photos of America in the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s, and everyone's fit. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not fit, but they're not overweight. So they're closer to being where they need to be than they are now. And so it's nice to have you out there. Like I say, I was doing my scroll through Instagram. I saw your 43 to 53, and that made a great impact, because I know how difficult that can be. And I wanted to champion you for being so good to be able to do that. When I've told people, I wasn't meaning to be an asshole, but it is not easy. You can't say, I want to look like that when I'm your age. Well, why don't you look like that at your age now? I mean, I don't understand that. So for you to be one of those people to say, I want to feel better, look better, to be around myself, be around others, I really think that's amazing. And I'm really impressed by your social media presence, because you post every day. I mean, it's, for someone that finds social media a very hard to get to, I'm very impressed by that. And it's all good workouts too. Very impressive. So
thank you. Thank you.
Very nice. So let's see. I think I have a final question. I'm trying to see if anything pops out at me here that I missed. I don't think there is. I still think it's funny that, I do have one final question, and it's right under boo, leg day, ugh. I just want to remind you that I have written those words down in order. I wrote down, when you were talking earlier about, I wrote down alarm, a question mark, because you had mentioned really early on that before your fitness and you felt better and wanted to attack the day, that you woke up and you're like, can't I just stay in bed for 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
So I wrote down alarm a long time ago. Do you like, I don't use an alarm either. I just wake up, because I'm generally up between 4:30 and 5 every day. And that's just how my body has become set. And that's just, and it used to be I would fight it, and then I would be lethargic and tired throughout the day. I just get up at 4:30 or 5 whenever my body tells me to. So do you even use an alarm?
I have what I would call a safety net alarm.
Okay.
So it's I always wake up before it goes off. But we mentioned it earlier. A lot of the clients that I train in person, I am training at 5 a.m. etc.
Right.
So
you
I need
can't
to make sure I don't sleep through. So
Right.
But I promise you, every morning I will wake up normally 3 to 4 minutes before the alarm is due to go off.
Right. I mean, your body just gets so, and it gets so, but that's also your body saying, hey, I'm ready for the day.
Exactly.
Because,
exactly.
because I do remember it, and it's been a long time. I mean, I couldn't say an exact date, but if I had to give a line of demarcation where it changed, it's almost the pandemic. That once I started working out and I started focusing and getting in that type of routine, because it's easy for me to do my first workout in the morning, then the last workout in the evening before after dinner or something like that. So for me, that just worked out easy, and I started getting up. And for a short while, I had trouble, like, my alarm doesn't go off for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15. I'll stay in bed till that time, till I hear that music. But I've no longer do. I mean, and I'm like you, emergency alarm. That's a very good one. So I'm going to write that down. I'm coming up with a list of t-shirts that are going to be made with quotes that guests have said. So emergency alarm, because I just wanted to say words that people come up and go, I don't understand. What do those two words mean together or something? But I like that, because that's the only thing I set. So like for church on Sundays, I don't go to church till 8:30. I'm up at 4:30, but I still set an alarm to go off just in case I don't show up. So, but would you say that you attribute a lot of that to your better health, nutrition, and fitness, that has made a change in your outlook on attacking the day?
heart rate, my sleeping heart rate, um, worlds apart compared. It's just a great place to be.
Okay. And I think I lost, and I don't know, it may have record on video. I actually don't know, and I don't know we're doing. I think I lost some of your audio there at the end when you're explaining, because I'd heard heart rate and some other things. So I think as it's gotten later on your end, that the our connection, and maybe my connection, because we're getting towards midday where I am, that it's become a little less stable. So, but can you still hear me? Because right now you just froze up. So I'm not even sure if you can hear me right now, if I'm frozen as well on your end. So
I can
okay.
hear you, but I can't. The screen.
Okay, so you just unfroze there. So when you froze, I couldn't even hear you as well. So anyway, I do think that you were saying that it was a positive outlook on attacking the day, is what I think I gathered.
Yeah, it's I get a better night's
Yeah.
sleep. My heart rate is a lot lower, and because of that, I get more REM and more deep sleep, and therefore I'm rested.
Let me ask you this also. Are you a big numbers guy then? Because I never even wrote this out. I am. I like to track numbers and see the correlation of how they. So, you're mentioning your REM sleep, your light sleep.
Yeah.
So are you a big numbers cruncher like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I use an Apple Watch and various apps that track all of that for me.
Right.
And I'd like to keep a close eye on things.
So are you able, if you see something a little bit, wow, I wonder why this is elevated, or is this change, and then you research that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And
See,
I know if I've caught a bug or something, I can see it in the numbers before I feel it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense too. I used to track my sleep, and I like a more traditional watch. I really prefer a mechanical watch over like a smart watch or something. But it used to bug me because I would look at it and it would say how shitty sometimes I would look at it, I would feel well rested, but my phone was telling me that I slept really shitty last night.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that fucked with me. I'm like, I think I feel better than my phone's telling me that I did. I only got 2 minutes of REM sleep, but I got 6 hours of light sleep and woke up 8 times, but I feel pretty good. So that's my only problem with numbers. So
Jason, lies, damn lies, and statistics, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Jason, thank you so much for doing what you do, being a presence on, once again, on Instagram, you're at Fit in Midlife. On TikTok, you're at fit_in_midlife. And then your website is fitinmidlife.com. Man, I like I say, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, talking to me about health and fitness. I mean, and this does sound weird. There aren't a lot of it. I can't have conversations about normal weight in the United States often. And it is difficult because I'm the outlier. Sometimes, in fact, I snapped at a woman at the pool last year because she was talking to a girl who's like 17 or 18 saying, well, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know what the first part of the story. When I started paying attention, this woman said, you don't need to be concerned about your weight. Everyone in America becomes overweight at some point. And I screamed, shut the fuck up. Don't listen to what she's saying. Because that, to me, that was appalling. No, it isn't. Yeah. And then what she said to me was, well, not everyone has your eating habits, Rodney. You're right. Not everyone has my eating habits. I'm also up before 5 every morning, and within a half an hour, I'm working out every morning. I'm working out in the evening. I walk the dog every day that I can walk the dog. I mean, I'm doing other things. It's not just my weird eating habits that allow me to be thin. There are a lot of other things that are on there. So it is something. And like I say, when I tell young people, well, it's going to be hard for you to be fit when you're older. If this is your starting point, it's hard to have those conversations. And here in America, people will love to call me beanpole, skinny, tall drink of water, because this is, I guess, I don't want to call it desired because I think I'm too skinny for the most part, but it's better than the alternative, the other side. And so it's very difficult. So I very much appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. We have a big audience, but this is more about me and you than the audience. But I want to take the time, but I really want to take the time to thank you for doing what you do, especially on Instagram. That's how I found you. It's a great page for anyone, regardless of your age. If you want to feel better, look better, it's all about feeling better ultimately. Because I think if you feel better, you end up looking better too. Because it's a confidence. I feel better. I'm going to give this off. So thank you so much for everything that you do. It's much appreciated.
And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as well, right? I really enjoyed it.
Well, and I noticed in the background that I've now taken you into the twining twilight hours as we see each other. And I appreciate you doing this on video too. I don't know how much of this video will ever make it out there, but I very much appreciate you doing this. It's great to be able to see someone and talk to them. And I very much appreciate the time you've given us.
My pleasure.
Okay. For everyone else listening to the program, it was Jason Smith. He joined us from the UK. He is on Instagram at Fit in Midlife. Find him there. He also has TikTok, and his website is fitinmidlife.com. Jason, thank you so much for being on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone else, my name's Ro. I'm the Stone Genius. You know me, I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. I'll talk to y'all later. Okay, we're clear on the audio portion. Jason, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really good. And I hope it comes across that way, because it was exactly what you said. It's like a fireside chat between a couple of old mates.
Yeah, really. It is, and that's why I wanted to include video in it, is because I want to be able to see the people. A lot of the interviews that I've had, it's just been a voice. I've seen their picture and stuff, but it's not. So I really appreciate you taking the time and the effort to do this. I'm going to play around. I hope there's some small clips I can cut out of here of us having some sort of conversations or dropping into AI. I think there's websites that will spit those out for me. So I'm going to do that. So you may see some of that. I actually think I'm going to put this episode out tomorrow. So I will include your links and everything. If there's a headshot, a photo, anything else you want, you can email them to me and I will get those posted on Instagram. And this will actually come out at midnight, which will be my time. So probably 6 a.m. your time tomorrow morning.
Cool. Okay. Looking forward to it. And if you're okay with it, then I'll obviously repost it and promote it as well. Yeah, no, I'd very much appreciate that. And, I'll probably reach out to you again. Generally, when I do my own debrief after doing something like this, I'll end up writing a whole bunch of other questions, because I didn't really, I talked briefly or asked briefly about the after you've met the goals, and you've talked about some of the new goals, but there's probably a lot more after that as well. So I'm sure I will reach out to you in the near future. If you ever come across something that, it doesn't matter whether it's fitness related, nutrition related, world related, it doesn't matter. If there's something you ever want to talk about, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to have you on the program to talk about anything as well. Fantastic. That'd be great. Okay. Thanks, Jason. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks, Fred. Take care, mate. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.